said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover state of fear.
Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear. I am here with two excellent guests, Vivi and Eric from Shaken Not Scared podcast. How are you guys?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Yeah, no, thanks for joining us today. At first, Shaken Not Scared, I thought it was a James Bond podcast that's centered around horror, but it's actually a really excellent horror movie podcast. Tell me about the podcast and yourselves, guys.
Sure. Yeah, we were actually worried people were going to think we were a James Bond thing. So we started this podcast February 2021 because we were just drinking and watching horror movies all throughout the pandemic. So we thought we'd just start recording our conversations. And it's been pretty fun. We've watched a lot of stuff we haven't seen, haven't remembered too much about. This is one of them. Child's Play we haven't covered yet.
Yeah, we always say we're not like professional film critics. It's kind of just, we were always fans, watched a lot of them on and off TV, right? Growing up, I had older siblings who were always watching these things. And I just remember there was that scary scene and,
I'm the same, similar kind of a relationship with it too, right? You remember it, other people watching it, and you're always interested in it, but you're not. So yeah, definitely. No, I was just kidding about the James Bonds. I early quarantine, I like the first thing I did was like watch like all of the Bonds. I don't remember one of them. So whenever I see it now, I get like bad March 2020 like flashbacks.
That's funny. Have you seen the 007 game remastered in like Unreal Engine 5? I think somebody redid old GoldenEye.
GoldenEye is my favorite. I would love to play that.
Yeah, look for it. It's pretty cool.
Definitely check that out. But you guys, that's the thing. I think similarly with Flyover State of Fear and Shaken Not Scared, and that revisiting movies you haven't seen in a while or ever, like love expanding the world of that, right? So are you guys, any of you bartenders, or are you just interested in drinks because your drinks are so cool and elaborate?
So funny enough, we're actually signing up to be bartenders by the first week of February. We're not officially bartenders, but like I said, we picked up cocktail making, during the pandemic, like most people.
Very nice. I made that. If you Google a Child's Play drink, which I'm sure you guys did, I did make that Chucky Revenge. I haven't sipped it yet.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I didn't know we were allowed to drink on this. So
oh yeah, this is very not safe for work. Drink whatever you want to do. I assumed you were having your drink on here.
We have an idea for the end, I think is what
we're sure. But if you Google Child's Play, that's what we're talking about today. It was Chucky's Revenge, which is basically just it's basically just like trash can ingredients kind of. I mean, it was like cranberry juice, peach schnapps, blue carousel, and vodka. Very sweet.
Yeah, we saw that. You also picked up one that there's this pop-up bar by us that always has either like horror or like anime nerdy stuff happening, and I think they made one for Child's Play, right?
Oh
yeah, but much fancier than what we're going to suggest. It's actually a variation of what you're drinking. I just changed it.
I can't wait to hear about it, but I do have it. I wish I told you guys prior to grab a drink. Just a bad host, I guess.
No worries. Some people bring it up, so I'm like, we'll just save it for another time.
Yeah, no, all good. What is for both of you each, your horror origin story or whatnot? That's, I guess, a basis and a concept for any new listeners where what we ask before we talk about the movie.
Yeah, so I would say mine is probably I read way too much Stephen King as a kid, And I think Carrie was it for me. It was like one of the first books by him I read and then watched immediately after, and I was like hooked ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, I've never gotten into this like horror books or Stephen King. I always like bought one or two, but never read them. So, Carrie, do you recommend or
Love Carrie.
I love
If
the
you're gonna
movie.
do yes,
Oh, it's
both.
so good.
If it is pretty good, but just realize that it was written for a different time and there's some
I
things in
I'm
there that are
familiar with
odd.
the orgy scene. I assume you're referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was weirdly enough. Are you guys familiar with you and the last it right and the recent one and the original script of it had all that in it and Cary Fukunaga basically got fired. Not fired, left the project.
Oh God.
For
for
including it?
Well, for basically having like every intense element in his script from that, and I think this is all like I'm not doing any research based on memory, but I always find that interesting because we got that first really good it, and it too is terrible. Sorry if you guys liked it. I
It
think
is.
it was a
Yeah.
piece of shit. But the first one's great, and it was supposed, it was in production, and that was when Will Poulter was cast
Yeah.
Mhm.
as it. Do you remember? He's the kid from War of the Millers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, his Pennywise. It's all good. But anyway, I always think of that when someone brings up it. I'm like, I wonder what that movie would have been like. Anyway, so Stephen King and it, and they just kind of did it, or not it, and it just spiraled from there.
Yeah, I guess kind of that thing of at least in my household, you weren't allowed to watch things like that, or I don't know. I would just sneak watch them because they were on TV all the time. Just made sure no one caught me. I guess it's just that I can't do this, but I want to
Yeah,
element.
of course.
Yeah. For me,
Oh,
it was growing up with siblings that are almost a decade older than me. I was a
okay.
kid, and photographic memory. I can watch a movie and say, oh, you know what, I did see this growing up, and I can't
Oh
really
wow.
recall which movie it was, but I can tell you, oh yeah, I remember this scene, or I think we were watching something 2 days ago. Hereditary, was it
Oh,
Hereditary?
terrifying.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and the music was playing. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this." I don't remember watching that the first time, but yeah, it was just that. Actually, a couple weeks ago, had a dream about Child's Play, and that's what made us pick this.
Okay,
Um,
I
I
love that you guys picked it.
Chucky was attacking Vivi in my dream. It was in an apartment that I grew up in as a kid, and I went out into the street and was like cutting Chucky's face off and trying to save us. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is a nuts dream.
Yeah,
I get that though about like I didn't see this, but I definitely seen it, and then we've my wife and I are the worst, and she doesn't watch horror movies, and this is not a horror story at all. And I've been off. I was off from vacation this past week, and I know like I'm assuming you guys too. Like every person you talk to recommends 5 different TV shows to watch, and you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't watch any of them. So instead of watching one of those shows, we decided to watch Nickelodeon's As Told by Ginger all.
Oh
And
wow.
and we really enjoyed like the 3 seasons, but like I'd say every like other episode, like, oh yeah, I think I remember this from I'll be 30 in February from what 2000 or something from almost 20 years ago.
That's
Yeah.
so
So
funny.
it's
I
like,
love
oh
As Told by Ginger.
yeah, it's great. Highly recommend rewatching it. I teared up a couple times.
I think I watched Pepper Ann more than As Told by
Okay.
Ginger. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, but you mentioning that you're hearing music or something, everyone was like, "Yeah, no, this is a memory." That happens a lot. I've learned from talking to people and doing this show is, the origin story. It is something from like either the forbidden or like I just remember it and I connect with it.
Yeah, my older brother was also just super afraid of Chucky. So I
Mm.
remember that just being a conversational, all the time. And I think my cousins liked scaring us too as kids because it was like me and my younger sibling were probably like the youngest of the cousins amongst a bunch of cousins who were a decade older.
Same.
So it was always easy to scare us as kids.
Oh yeah, I absolutely. And Chucky's one of those things that I imagine you guys are similar age as me and around that. And I feel like it's one of those things of our age group, maybe give or take 5 to 10 years or so, where it was really easy if you didn't see it to know what it was and then scare someone with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember Child's Play being always on like WB, like their
Yeah.
Sunday movie. The and like you'd see ads for it or something and be scared, and then getting actually, yeah, probably in my like teen, like 20s or something, like, oh, these are actually fun. Like,
Yeah.
not, they're not scary, and people still hold on to that. So as we're mentioning, we're talking about Child's Play. That's what we're talking about today. 1988's Child's Play, and you kind of answered it, and that's why you picked it, because of a dream. I was gonna say, why'd you pick it? But
Yeah. Also, what you said, it was just if you were a kid growing up in that time, people always scared you with Chucky's coming to get you.
Yeah.
And I remember that so much. So
Yeah.
I felt it was a good pick.
You were either watching Toy Story and being told that, kids or toys are happy and, fun, or being scared with Chucky because they can kill you.
and my brother's 4 years older than me. I remember vividly, we were at Blockbuster, or going to Blockbuster, and they were promoting Bride of Chucky. I'm probably on video, and they had the big posters up, and we were being watched like after school or something, and everyone went in, and I was like, I'm not going in. I was terrified. I did not want to go in the Blockbuster. To the point where the guy working was like, whoa. And she's like, he's scared of that poster. And like, well, we can't take it down. Like, it was, so, just watch you. So yeah, the fear was there. And then you realize that it's not that scary.
Yeah. This is the first time since I think I was a kid that I've watched this movie. We watched the remake a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. Oh, what'd you think of that?
It's kind of cool that they used that they modernize like the horror, right? And say, well, it kind of makes sense that he would go into the internet, right? And
I thought we were gonna be friends. But, no, I'm kidding. I really hate that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's interesting with the remake, because it's, not to be a purist of Child's Play, of Chucky, it's just dirty because they went behind the creator's back and they didn't make it, and like it's very like, I've personal opinions of why I don't like it, and with the franchise that's still sprawlingly growing, they kind of said, nope, we own the rights, and that's why you have Chucky and not Child's Play.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't think we just to be clear, I don't think we generally liked it. I just
you don't have.
I'm connected to the internet.
I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Definitely hated the characters redesign.
Yeah,
it looked awful.
Disgusting. It just didn't work. I like that they didn't try to remake shot for shot. I appreciate that, because the worst remake is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. That one,
which we have not seen yet.
I've just heard so much about it.
So it's offensive. Not in a way of like, oh, I'm offended. Like, it's offensive as like a human.
How do you think the actor did? Because I didn't watch it, but I really liked the guy
who was
who
fine.
plays Freddy.
Yeah.
He was in The Watchmen as Rorschach, and I really liked him as a character. I thought he was kind of cool casting, but having heard it was bad, I didn't really.
He was fine, but I think it's similar to like Chucky, right? The Freddy and Chucky are two of the most personality-driven slashers, and that's kind of what made them have their longevity. So even if someone else doing it, it was like okay, but they were still, for that, especially Nightmare, they were still really trying to remake the original, even though they took away some of the humor and whatnot. So it was all right. And then same with like no offense to who's a Mark Hamill that did Chucky, like he was fine. It just was. It wasn't Brad Dourif. And speaking of that, and I'll get into what the most fun fact I had read about this movie when Child's Play is, there's a cut of this film with audio all done from Jessica Walters, who's Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development.
Yeah,
because she was the first voice, and then the screening they were like, this doesn't work.
Really?
Wait, to be Chucky? That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then they brought Brad, who played Charles Rouet, back, and then he has that this kind of voice.
Now I'm just picturing Lucille Bluth, running from cops and
I want it. Yeah. I don't know it. I want to see it.
Telling people they're sluts.
She has a very
bitch
distinguished voice.
Like just her going as Chucky. Oh, Michael.
You gotta recast it though, where she's just like very just high class, right? And
Martini
Yeah.
the entire time. Yeah.
Here, go see a Star War. That was even before we begin the plots. That was like the most interesting fun fact that I read, and the reasoning for the makers was the voice was like manipulated apparently to sound more like, I guess, like a doll, and was that a woman did the voice for Pazuzu, the Satan in The Exorcist.
Yes.
So that, like, I get it. Anyway, Child's Play, 1988. I'm going to read the synopsis that I grabbed from YouTube, that I grabbed from Google. Half and half, they're either correct or just like not. Like, I just recorded Scream. It's just like, this is a horror classic. That gives you nothing. Story and screenplay have been written by Don Mancini, and I will try my hardest for this whole thing not to talk about the sequels and the retrospective series. But he's been architecting and shepherding this for 30 years now, roughly. This is directed by Tom Holland, not Spider-Man, but Tom Holland from director of Fright Night. And
I made that joke at the start of the film. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah, my wife caught some of it. She's like, "There's two Tom Hollands." And stars Brad Dourif as Charles Lee Ray / Chucky, Catherine Hicks as Karen, Andy Barclay's mother, and Alex Vincent as the cutest kid I think to ever hit screen as Andy Barclay, and Chris Sarandon as Detective Norris, who was also in Fright Night as Peter Vincent. Speaking of good remakes, I love that remake.
When we were looking this up, we also realized that Tom Holland did Fright Night, and was Chris Sarandon in that?
Chris Sarandon, yes.
Yeah, he just likes him a lot then.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think, God, I did listen to some of the commentary just today, like background noise almost. And I think there's some other few connections with Tom Holland of like casting, if he used him in different. Oh, with Catherine Hicks, there was a movie she was in that he directed, and it's probably why she got her role also. And a cool little note also about it is Catherine Hicks met her husband, Kevin Yeager, who's the creature designer and special effects artist for these movies. So
Cool.
Which is cool. They have a commentary track too on the Blu-ray. I didn't listen to that though.
We probably should get better at learning facts. From
Yeah,
the
I know. I
commentary.
feel we should have watched. the
I'm so sorry.
commentary now.
it's
No,
okay.
this is the first time I have put on the commentary track. And really what it was me and my wife came home and we were hungover and the Child's Play DVD was still in the player. So I just put it on with the commentary track and fell asleep on some of it. So
What a hangover.
yeah. Anyway, so the synopsis: gunned down by Detective Mike Norris, dying murderer Charles Lee Ray uses black magic to put his soul inside a doll named Chucky, which Karen Barclay then buys her young son, Andy. When Chucky kills Andy's babysitter, the boy realizes the doll is alive and tries to warn people. But he's institutionalized. Now Karen must convince the detective of the murderous doll's intentions before Andy becomes Chucky's next victim. That's actually a pretty good synopsis.
Yeah, we run into a lot of hit or miss on our show too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's one sentence. It's like crazy doll kills a bunch of people. Family
Oh my
tries to
God.
figure it out.
And I read, I'll do a lot of like the note things what we just did, like through work. Just copy and paste. I don't read them, you know. We read them here. So I'm glad we're in the same boat. This was a little more facts out of the way. This movie was a hit. Had a budget of 13 million. Although in the commentary, I think they said like 15, so no one probably really knows. And it was 44 million it took in, so that's cool. So movie starts off. I love how this movie starts off. Though it starts off just like this cold open of Charles Lee Ray looking all raggedy. I heard today, listening to another thing, like kind of looks like a Tommy Wiseau running around. I'm like, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. This guy who plays Charles, Brad Dourif, I didn't realize he was in so much. I thought he was just Chucky's voice and that's it. But we were looking him up. He's in Lord of the Rings. He's in. What else was he in?
He was in
So
One
much.
Flew The Cuckoo's Nest before this. I think he was Academy Award nominated for that. Yeah, Brad Dourif, and he's just a good working actor. And this is, he's Chucky, and then I always also know him in this episode coming up. You guys familiar with Urban Legends?
The
film movie,
Urban.
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but have seen a lot of people talk about it.
Okay, I haven't recorded it yet, but Trent on Nightmare on Fear Street had picked it, and he's coming on Thursday. And,
nice.
Oh, cool.
And I know that why I bring that up is he's uncredited, but Brad Dourif is like the crazy homeless guy that like bangs on a car in it, So he pops up everywhere. And I mean that voice, and oh man, I wish you guys saw the Chucky series, because his daughter is now in the family, and she plays a young him with like prosthetics on.
Oh, that's so
cool.
I
did see that, and she does look like him.
You've seen
so
spoilers?
Good.
Yeah, I did. I couldn't avoid them.
I don't even know what to spoil. Like, and I was watching like a featurette when the show was running, and she laughs like Chuck, like just naturally, like laughs like Chucky.
Oh my god!
Like her father, she laughs like
Genetics
yeah,
are crazy.
like, that is that. All right, so but that intro, like he just gets gunned down by Chris Sarandon, and he has a partner, and he's a lakeshore strangler, and instantly Voodoo. What do you guys think of the Voodoo aspect?
So quickly.
Yeah, the lightning and the boxes fly everywhere.
I don't remember this part of the movie at all. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. The explosion was so crazy. The lightning just speaking ancient language is what the subtitle said out of nowhere. I was like, what does this mean? I love it.
Bale, Namde, Due. Yeah. And then that happens. Yeah, I always used to have a false memory of that intro too. Like before I became a pretty big fan, like that the lightning was there, but I always remembered like this, mixed it up with this green genie looking thing that I thought was part of this world, but it's not. I think it was like a cover of like a Blink-182 album.
Almost sounds like Gremlins.
Yeah,
green fog and the
something like that, but it was definitely not this. So that
I do love that this is in Chicago, by the way. I hate
you
when
guys,
we watch films that are always in New York. We're from Chicago. We don't live there now, but seeing this in films is always great. We'll bring it up in a little bit because there were some scenes where I was like, that's not dangerous.
I was going to ask, I forgot to mention, you guys are from Chicago, live in the Chicago area. Is it a good representation of Chicago? Because
they definitely throw in some correct street names, but I guess kind of like how Eric mentioned already, they try to paint like downtown is a very, very dangerous area. It's probably the safest place you could be.
Yeah, immediately after the cops like, don't go down there. It's dangerous to be there at night. She goes to the Riverwalk. I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago, but that's like the safest area probably you could be in.
Our co-host, who also loves Chucky, lives in Chicago now. I was supposed to visit him this past summer, but I didn't, so I have not been yet. But the other thing I think we could bring up now is, which would be a great double feature, is the other horror movie in Chicago is Candyman.
Oh yeah. And we haven't seen the remake. It's been a while since I saw the old one.
It's very good, the remake, and so is the original. And I swear you could do a great double feature with this and the original, because the project housing that like they go to in this you would think it's the Candyman sets project housing, and Candyman's in and I know from that, like knowing about that movie, that I think is dangerous area. That's a Cabrini Green.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even when they start to talk about where Charles actually lives, it is south. It starts to get into the more dangerous, quote unquote, dangerous areas. But
I wonder if Hollywood uses the same places in Chicago on the south side as like everywhere else. If you've watched Shameless, it's supposed to take place in Chicago too, and they talk about the south side, but they actually film in some place out west.
Well, Oh, sorry. I imagined just like any city knowledge. I imagine that was like in Shameless, at least, more like those like suburban, lower middle class areas that like exist on the outskirts of a city ish. How the
Yeah,
houses look, at least, just from like
yeah,
my East Coast knowledge of cities.
yeah. The house that Eddie Caputo's in, I think, it looks so close to the Shameless house that I was like, yeah, I don't know where they
So
filmed this.
that one is like, I'm glad I listened to the commentary actually because of this. That actually was a condemned house they were like rent out for like that shoot. So that was in Chicago, and that was not. That was just an empty house somewhere.
Did they
Cool.
actually blow it up?
I don't know. I imagine. I didn't. They didn't say anything on that.
They like their
Uh,
explosions
Oh,
in
they
this.
do.
Yeah.
oh yeah. And while we're just talking about Chicago, though, that apartment building is so beautiful.
Oh, I liked it too. Yeah, when I saw the elevator, I was like, you don't really see this anymore.
Well, that's one of the things we mentioned. She's portrayed as like a single mom struggling. That is not the apartment of a single
No,
mom who's struggling.
and they mentioned it once again in the producer Kevin Yeager. No, not Yeager. That's the guy. What's his name? Um, David Kirshner, and he had a lot to do with like developing the voodoo aspect. And it sounds like he actually really made this a tighter film than like what Don Mancini did and Tom Holland did. But he asked that to Don. He was like, "Why? This is kind of a big apartment for a show." And Don explained it by like, "Oh, I just always meant for the audience to assume like," and I don't think they do a good job with this, that she's a widowed mother, and like her husband had lived there, and they were doing well at one point.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's in the film. I've watched this movie a ton and the sequels a bunch, and I've never got that from like the Barclays. And this is the only time she shows up.
Yeah, I think there's like one conversation where Andy says Daddy from heaven sent
No,
Chucky,
okay,
but that's it. That's all we get for
my
that
God,
background.
so it's
I thought
kind
you were
of
going to say the commentary said she got a check after the husband died and now she decided to go live lavishly,
yeah,
which
it's still really
is
nice.
fine.
Uh, and then well about yeah, so about that we meet Andy Barkley, and he's making the most like childlike breakfast you can, bringing his mother, which is really sweet, sugar everywhere.
A whole
And
scoop of butter.
yeah,
Oh my god, yeah. I thought it was ice cream. I was writing
it's
notes
like
and I looked
ice
up, I was like, "Oh, ice cream?" She's like, "No, it's a chunk of butter."
it's a chunk of butter, and he's
How
watching
Midwest.
butter on the toast, probably gonna burn the kitchen down, but it feels very kid like, and I love how this movie does have that the child feel to it when we're with Andy.
Yeah. When he's watching the cartoons and he's like, "Oh, I've seen
Mhm.
this one already." I felt like that when I was a kid. I used to watch a lot of TV actually. I watched too many cartoons and can remember too many episodes. But when he's like, "I've seen this one already," and they bring on the toy that they're going to release to everybody, and they've got that creepy guy dressed up as
The mascot.
I want to go to a
good guy.
con. I've never been to a con really, but I want to go to a con with that mascot.
Hey, if you do come to C2E2 here in August next
All
year,
right, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, he brings her breakfast, and it's his birthday. So that's why he's obviously excited. His mom, and she gives him something. She gives him like toys for the doll. I've given toys like that to like nieces and nephews, where it's like, I'm not buying you the big Barbie, but like here's the accessories for it.
I'm not
They
buying
go,
you the camera, but here's the film.
yeah, kind of, right? Because it's like, I don't have that money to give you, but and they're a lot. They're $100. These
For the 80s,
good
I imagine
guys.
that's quite expensive.
Yeah, and she works
Yeah,
at like a department store, right?
At
yeah.
Carson's, which I don't think exists anymore.
Which
Right.
was like a high end like Macy's, not Macy's,
It,
yeah,
on level with Macy's, I would say.
Macy's, yeah. So, and that also has like nostalgia memories for me too, like the department stores. That reminds me of like going to Macy's with my mom and stuff. Um, so then we meet her mom and her friend. Her mom's played by Catherine Hicks, who just like, I don't know, does the Lord's work in this movie. She like she picks this. I mean, everyone's casted well and carries this, but this is her movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that she wasn't in a lot more after this because you see a lot of people who do well like her,
Mhm.
and a lot more. But when I was looking up her IMDb and stuff, I was like, I mean, she does a couple of things, but you'd think she'd be more prominent.
Yeah, I guess maybe she just went back to doing more like soap stuff, and then she's great. And then she never returned to Child's Play again or Chucky. And then she was the mom on Seventh Heaven, so I mean that's why I knew who she was. So that was probably a good gig for
A while.
Yeah. So, but she's great in this movie, and she's talking with her girlfriend. What's her name? Aunt Maggie.
Maggie,
And basically, they're like, this homeless guy he has a toy for sale, and then I looked it up. So she buys it for $30, and she's like, "Come on," but she still gives it $30. That is still in 2022 money, $67.
Dang.
That is pretty
That
high,
was
yeah.
very expensive for everything.
For a doll, yeah.
Yeah.
He went down pretty low though. He said, what was it, $80 to start, and then the one girl's like $10, and she says 30, and he's like, fine. It's like he took a pretty big hit from his original price.
I gotta wrap it up. No negotiations.
Yeah.
So she gets the doll, and she comes home and is like, Andy, like, these aren't groceries. And he opens up, and it's Chucky. And the doll does look like an 80s doll, which isn't around anymore. My Buddy doll.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like inspired by the Cabbage Patch
was.
craze
That's who
at
I
the
thought.
time.
It
I hate
was.
dolls. I think I hate dolls because of this movie.
Yeah.
The Cabbage Patch was inspired by the Cabbage Patch kids, but like the look and everything is. My brother had it, but not when I was cognitive of knowing he had it. But it was like, looks just like this thing called a My Buddy doll. I mean, from the face, the overalls.
Yeah. I've seen those as well, and this is just a very creepy design.
Yeah.
I think they did a really great job at it.
And like, especially that doll version, what we first see, it looks just like it looks like it. If there's no sinisterness to how he looks now, that's the problem with that remake too. No one would want to own that.
No, it looks too creepy. This one looks creepy too, though. I like how at the end too, when his face is melted, this whole creature, this toy, has a very like Terminator vibe.
Yeah,
right? Because all the electronics underneath that creepy exterior is still pretty intense, right? Like if all he does is just kind of talk, why does he have robotic limbs and other parts of him?
Oh yeah, oh shit! I never put that together. Because he doesn't. Yeah, his hands don't move as a doll. It should just be plastic.
They're like this.
Yeah,
plastic, and they look like they're just fused that way, but he's got limbs. And
so do yourself a favor, watch Child's Play 2, because it does, the intro is literally the toy being made in the factory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one I remember the most. Is that the one where they kind of revive him from the grave? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I think that's the one I have. No,
well, they remake him.
Oh, gotcha.
Like he's just made as like spoiler, they repurpose the parts from the doll and just make another one, and that's how it happens. So the design of Chucky's awesome, and then like slowly as we're going through this movie, one of my favorite all-time parts and is just the way the face, when he's slowly turning to human, looks more and more like Charles Lee Ray, and the hairline recedes, and brilliant. So I'll just speed it up a little bit. Karen can't get off for Andy's birthday, and Matt, keep on a car, Susan. But Maggie's like watching Andy, and then I have an issue with her because she should be a cool babysitter and like let him stay up a little later. It's his birthday.
She comes off like the cool friend of Karen.
Yeah, right? Defending her against her horrible boss and stuff.
But you think that she's probably like, well, I don't actually want to take care. I'm just gonna, chill and get get a glass of wine and hang out.
Definitely.
I think her death is insane. Did you guys
It's
think her
insane.
death was kind of intense for what happened? I mean, she gets hammered in the face. That's brutal. But the whole
Her
falling
de-
out the window.
Oh, it's so. I mean, it's it goes on a little too long, right? Like especially the push because we have the really cool like this host first what hour 20 or so before we get a big like Chucky reveal. It's Jaws. It's Alien, right? We don't see it. It's very like calculated. We get that zoom in, that first person, but then she just does this like walk and like she takes one extra step where she just lunges herself back out, and it's like, ooh, it should have been a little tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she falls forever.
Forever.
And then still smashes a car. They just wanted the most intense.
Yeah.
dramatic
Yeah.
death possible.
So she dies. Karen comes home and she's like, oh my God, what's going on? Where's my son? Blah, blah, blah. Where's Maggie? And cops are like, she dead. But there's these footprints in flour that match the Chucky doll, but also matched Andy's footy pajamas. And
I love this. The boy cried wolf reimagining too. It's like, why wouldn't you make Andy seem like he's insane? Who would ever believe this? And I think they believe it too quickly, because
okay. She does believe it, but I do think the mother sees a little stuff like to believe it too quickly.
I also think she wants to. She doesn't want to believe her kid belongs in an institution.
Yeah.
She wants it to
but
be
you'd think
true.
the cops would be like, oh, Andy's not crazy. His mom made him crazy, and the mom's actually the one that's insane.
Yeah, there's a little, and once again, we're talking about a movie about a toy coming to life. So,
Yeah.
but there's a little bit of the mother, running around a little too freely, like running in and out of the cop's life.
Yeah.
Or so right after this, right, the cops show up to investigate, but she kicks them out like they're kids.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it like a crime scene is a crime scene. They're not going to let this lady tell them what to do. They're going to say, no, you need to find a hotel.
Mhm. Yeah,
We're going to keep our investigation.
you can't go. You could go home. You can't stay here, right? But you don't have to go home. Yeah, she would be like, you have a friend you could go with, and and I failed to mention Chris Sarandon, also the detective. He's Jack Skellington.
Yes, we learned that while we were looking up facts for
Yeah,
this
me
movie.
too. I was like, oh shit! And I was trying to hear it, and I couldn't hear it at all.
You mentioned it on your Lost Boys episode, and I was actually taking down our tree, and we have a lot of Jack Skellington ornaments. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Even watching him in this, I was like, I can't hear the voice somehow. Do you guys?
A little bit
Oh,
in some parts.
I don't hear it, but I'm not too familiar. A big fan of that Nightmare Before Christmas. So, but everyone knows who Jack Skellington is these days. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting surprise. I was like, oh shit. But anyway, so the detective's there, and you're right. They take Andy. Actually, they don't take Andy just yet. Andy then goes to sleep with Chucky, and it's a really sad scene though, because you could tell the mother is more like wanting her son to like sleep in bed with him because her friend just died, and like she has like emotional stuff to deal with, and he's like, no, I'll stay with Chucky. And then he's so excited to tell though the police. I'm jumping him back a little bit. The police and his mother that Chucky did it, and they just don't believe him.
Yeah.
I mean, what adult would?
No adult would. I mean, like after all this horror in these movies, I might believe a kid these days. But
Yeah, right.
I've seen
you
enough
say your
movies.
dolls are talking? We have to leave now.
Yeah. My brother just bought a house, and one of the first houses they were looking at was 100% haunted, and we were like, and he has a 1-year-old, and I was like, Wes is gonna tell you he has an imaginary friend like 3 weeks into moving there when he first starts talking.
Dude, nothing
Did they get a
scarier
good
in horror.
deal at least?
No,
good deal.
they didn't move in there.
Nothing scarier in horror than children, honestly. It's like pets who see ghosts, kids who see ghosts, throw them out. Yeah, throw them out.
Yeah, I'd just get rid of them. Waste them.
Waste.
So, so now, like, all right, there's a murder afoot. That's the just and then Andy is very like now he's in sync with Chucky, and I can imagine Chucky's probably doing the thing he does later on in movies, like we don't see it in this, but like with Charles Lee Ray is very good at talking to the kids and be like, all right, we're pals, we just me and you, kid, against the world. That's my failed attempt at a Chucky impression.
I was convinced.
Thanks, great.
I'll
do the animated series. So Chucky, so I imagine he's saying something like that to him. I always like that's what I always thought. And so Andy's still like, okay, we're in it. And then he goes to school. I don't know why his mother dropped him off at school. I'd be like, we're staying home for a week.
Yeah.
Just jumped out our window.
I didn't even think of that. These horror movies are really adamant about, kids going through traumatic things and then just sending them to school anyway. Like Nightmare, Nancy goes to school right away.
Right after her best friend is killed. Yeah.
Can't tell you how many movies we've seen like that. It's just send the kids to school. They don't have to worry about this.
Goes right to school. And because that's one where you're like, we're taking off for a couple days, getting our head right, like talking to Maggie's family. They seem, all this, like doing all.
You got to patch up the window.
Yeah,
it's winter in Chicago. We can't live here right now.
That's true.
And the production of this movie did luck out though by it being snow. It was just snowy and cold in Chicago. Like when she's walking on the streets, like she's just cold. And so he goes to school, but then he just cuts school and Chucky's telling him where to, and I love those shots of on the subway or the train.
I like how no one asks questions. Kids on there with the doll.
Talking to him, and it's just still the face, which is great.
We were trying to figure out which train he took. I think he took the red line. Just
well, he said he goes to the south. Does the red line go to the south?
That's the red line.
Okay, then he took the red line. So he takes the red line, and one of my favorite silliest scenes though. They get to Eddie Caputo's house, and Andy just goes, "I got to take a piss."
Yeah, just outside in the snow.
Yeah, and it's I don't even know it's a little boy thing, but it's hysterical.
Yeah, I like this all this leading up to it too. Him walking through the quote unquote south side, a bunch of people with barrels full of fire, and it's supposed to be sketchy because these people are homeless. But
and this kid just with his doll walking like nothing.
It's amazing. And so anyway, he gets there. There's freaking rats. That's always like seeing rats just makes me cringe.
The big Chicago thing.
Yeah, I was actually
rats.
just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, right? That I saw a rat freeze here in mid-stride downtown.
Oh my god!
You ever want to know how cold it is here?
Oh my god!
Just
do a whole podcast on that. A frozen rat walk. Oh, that's I don't. I see little mice occasionally. I don't like seeing rats. But we see him. He goes to Eddie Caputo's house because Charles Lee Ray is on a mission to get revenge on everyone who took him down, and basically blows the house up. And I think this is the worst edit of the movie because we get that, and then we're just in the police station, and it's just our assumption that the cops have picked up. The exact cops, by the way, have picked up Andy and Chucky and brought him to the police station. They're like, well, we know exactly who to call.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't even think of that. Don't think.
Yeah, but I've watched. This is not I watched this movie like 3 weeks ago, just for the hell of it. So
yeah, Chicago is huge, and I think there's like I don't know how many different districts, right, that have their own police departments.
Sure.
You're right. Yeah, they shouldn't be calling the same cops.
No, I mean like the odds of it. The guy who killed the detective that killed Charles Lee Ray, that is also the detective that's coming to this, this suicide probably report at first.
He's the only detective in Chicago, apparently.
I think more questions should be asked in general, like why, I know they bring Andy, and then Andy, they put him in like the psych ward or whatever with his doctor, but the cop who again is involved since the beginning with Chuck, I'd start asking myself, even as the cop, like, why did this kid go kill the guy from the last time that
Yeah,
I
why
was
was
running
he
into these
here?
people?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Chucky, like Charles, like if he's a good enough detective, he should know that Charles Lee Ray's friends call him Chucky.
Yeah, when he says he went back and read that file, I was like, you didn't really read that file the first time, did you?
Nah, just shoot, and ask questions later.
Right, you
Real
heard him
piece of
say the
shit.
ancient language too, right before you
Yeah,
killed him.
Adale Due. I beg you the power, I beg of you. But yeah, so we get to that scene, and then now Catherine Hicks though is kind of Karen is kind of starting. She picks her son up, and this is when he goes not picks, but this is when he gets sent to the institution. But this is when she's like, and she's kind of a final girl, like I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna and now she's like, okay, there's something here. My kid wasn't this 2 days ago.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing. This movie takes place over the course of 2 days, and so much happens.
Yeah, it's very jam packed, and with it moves. The best part about this movie is it does move. Like I and you correct me, you are more first watchers than I am. It's not it doesn't drag at all, which sometimes sometimes movies that are, what is this? I mean, it's a little under 90 minutes, so it's not long.
I do like the pace. It did take her long enough though to realize that the batteries were missing from the doll.
Took her a while.
I don't know. You imagine a kid, you're like, let me put the batteries in the toy for you. Here you go.
And that was supposed to be later in the script too.
Later than what it already was.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, that's the scene. He rolls.
Oh yeah.
Under the couch.
I love how there's a perfect slit too for him to fit in. That's his exact size.
Yeah.
You think they got a couch and they were like, okay, he fits. And it was probably
They're at IKEA with the doll just trying every couch.
It was probably a kid in a costume for the role too.
Yeah, I was wondering that because there are scenes where you can clearly tell it's an actor.
Yeah, so this movie, it took 11 puppeteers to do Chucky, and there's all different types of Chucky. Like the one that she's holding in the intro of my show, he's like, "You stupid bitch," and she screams through the fire. That doll is just like a Tickle Me Elmo, like shaking for that.
Oh, really?
So there's all different sorts of puppetry but for the walking shots, which apparently was like groundbreaking, all this stuff at the time, were kids. And one of them, and they weren't sure if the final shot was running by, was Alex Vincent, Andy's sister.
Oh, nice.
She was there, and they put her in the
suit, and she's just running around.
Yeah, I thought the effects in this were pretty good. They still hold up. I don't think that I'd judge it hard in any kind of way.
No.
What I'm wondering though is if they had kids playing the doll, did they have a kid playing the one on fire?
That had to be a stunt double.
That had to be stunt, or they might have just lit the animatronic on fire.
Okay, yeah, because it still moves pretty naturally. So I thought
I think
maybe
that might
that's
be
a person.
animatronic on fire. I
hope so.
Because I feel like looking up like fun facts about whatever behind the scenes. I feel like that would be something that would come up, because
that would pop up right away.
You're like, oh, fire, because people love when people get set on fire. To be like, we set them on fire. There's an episode of Are You for the Dark where the vampire gets set on fire, and I'm like, that's intense for this kids program. They actually had a guy get set on fire.
We were watching a documentary not too long ago that said that there are a handful, I don't know if it's still the case, but a handful of people who are the people you set on fire in Hollywood. And
Jason.
Specifically the one, go ahead.
Kane Hodder. Was you used to say that?
Is that the one who did Nightmare on Elm Street?
No.
Oh, well, Kane Hodder is Jason, right?
Yeah, he was like, his thing's like getting set on fire. But yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street, the guy who runs up the stairs, and he wasn't supposed to run up the stairs.
Yeah.
They were like, "Did you get the shot?" And they were all so scared because they thought he was dying. Yeah, it's awesome.
Was that in the movies that made us? I think.
I think so. We
Yeah,
watch
the
a lot of
Netflix.
those.
Yeah.
We watch the
I
Shudder
watched those.
ones.
You fall
They-
asleep
I
to them.
did fall asleep.
I hope they do a Child's Play one.
That'd be cool.
I think they should.
Yeah. So, psychiatric hospital. Psychiatric hospital for myself is always one of the area of the movie I do kind of forget scenes of. But this is where like Andy starts to stand his ground.
Yeah, I also thought it was weird you put a kid behind basically like a cell like this. You
Yeah.
think that because it's a kid versus like an adult, you'd have a more kind of welcoming setting for them, not to scare them.
Again,
And they
don't
have
know
them
what
in
it
a
was
cell.
like in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's probably more, I don't know, maybe it's trying to sell the toughness of Chicago or something.
Because you're still investigating whether this kid's actually crazy. So you
Yeah.
don't want to scare him by putting him in this cell with bars. And he's literally telling you, hey, I'm scared. Chucky's in here. I'm scared. And the doctor's like, yeah, whatever. Annoyed. I'm annoyed with you. Go away,
So
kid.
annoying. He's like, I got you. Just holding him down and like, with the needle, and I'm like,
Trying
oh
to
my God.
sedate him.
It's so upsetting.
Yeah.
I will say that Andy has some Final Girl vibes.
Oh,
because
he's a final girl.
I could tell
Final
you as
boy.
a 6-year-old, I would not think to grab a weapon and back up into corners. So, like,
Nope, meaning
I would have
he
been
did
dead.
really You'd be
That kid is smart.
that body would have been mine. And then the other part we're missing, which is so crucial, and it's like I guess crucial to the series, is we see Chucky go to the voodoo priest, basically.
Yeah, John Alsip. I wrote his name down, but
yeah, cool. I do
John
not
Alsip Bishop, I think is what his name was.
John Alsip Bishop. Yeah, so he goes there, and like that area has the Candyman vibes to it, especially they're probably in the same project that they're both based in. And basically the voodoo priest is like freaking out because we get a little nice insight, I think, to like the thought of, oh, like I thought this was all crap, but I bought into this voodoo just in case it works. And like, the priest is like, oh my God, you're an abomination. But he tells him, oh, the only way to stop the aging process is to get into the body of the person you told.
Right. I think I'd assume at this point, this guy's going to kill me anyway. Don't tell him. So he just dies because it's going to be my last wish to get him to die. Do they explore this lore anymore in the rest? Just because it seems like this voodoo priest was like a mentor to Chuck, right?
Not him. I mean, I could see the TV show doing that. The Child's Play franchise, so that's Child's Play, Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky,
Cult.
and then Cult, and then or Curse, then Cult. I'll try to do this as like streamlined as I can. It basically do your normal trilogy. It goes Andy in a foster home in Child's Play 2. Really great movie. Like one of the tightest sequel. It might even edge out this one as my favorite. Child's Play 3, he's like 13, 14 now, and he's in a military academy, and it's a fun one. It's not the best of the series. And then it goes to being the Chucky movies, and Bride of Chucky is full on 90s camp. We're capitalizing on the success of Scream and the comedy and the horror. There's not much horror, it's more just comedy and violence. And then Seed gets extremely weird and like
Yeah.
that one that one took me till like very recently to start like appreciating. It's not like great, but it's also, it is what it is. It's more
that one
comedy.
almost feels strictly comedy.
Yeah, it's strictly comedy. And then it goes away for a little bit, and then we go straight to video with Curse. And that's phenomenal. That's back to our roots of the first one, and it's a haunted house movie.
Oh, cool.
At the end of the day, it's a haunted house movie. And then Colt says, hey, we're going to go be weird again. We're going to go right back to being off the rails and getting into voodoo. And that, I think Colt's really where we get back to voodoo. And then the Chucky series says, you know what? this is what I love about this series, and this is the most consistent series of horror I think there is, in the sense of they haven't retconned shit.
Oh, cool.
Like, unlike Halloween, unlike probably you could have done in Friday the 13th or whatever, not Friday the 13th, you know what I mean? Everybody likes retconning these movies. Scream probably does it in this new one. I'm just probably doesn't, but this is comparable to Scream. And the series says everything from what I just did that description, we're going to start bringing back in this TV show. We'll explain it for you, but it's still getting weird. This is not the Chucky you saw in 1989, but it also still is. And so it's really fun, and anyone listening or you guys, like, I highly recommend just putting your head down and or putting your head first and going and watching them and like really enjoying, because they're batshit crazy and they're fun and they're campy, but the consistency is something to admire.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's knowing your audience, right? Like, who's going to watch the series? The people who watched the first one, the second one. So they're just fan servicing it up in here.
That's good.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, it's
I hate when they change it too much to try to grasp more audiences. It's like, you already have an audience. Just go for it.
Oh, and they could have, right? Oh, Chucky on Sci-Fi. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically like, you know how, like, if Cobra Kai wasn't a Karate Kid universe, it would probably just be like your regular CW like teen drama.
Yeah,
that's kind of what the Chucky series is. If like it wasn't about Chucky, it would just be like a Pretty Little Liars knockoff from like ABC Family, but it's in the Chucky world. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, sorry to ask.
No,
I just thought it was an interesting part. So yeah, if it explores that.
Yeah, the voodoo though. So you do get some voodoo experience, but it really doesn't come into factor like way later in the series, I guess is the answer.
felt we saw like a little voodoo when Tiffany brings him back.
Yeah.
She's got like the occult thing going.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't remember much.
It's here or there. And I think some part of that goes to is the creator really never knew how to incorporate the voodoo. That was something the producer wanted in, and apparently like the director was like, I don't really like this either. So
it does seem, weirdly thrown in, like at least until this kind of
scene.
Yeah, until this exposition scene happens. I was like, wow, so he suddenly knows this language.
And he gets his cool knife at this scene too.
Yeah. Knife is cool.
So I know they sell them. I think I'm gonna get one. I have a sticker. I realize I have a bunch of crap. I got a bust I got for Christmas.
Oh, cool. Vivi hates dolls too much, I think, for me to get some Chucky merch.
I'm okay with Chucky.
I couldn't have Vivi. I couldn't have like the doll here. I think my wife would throw me out if I just had like a Chucky doll of any sort. But little knickknacks are.
You should get it and just keep the batteries somewhere else in the house and then have it play with another set. So she thinks,
oh, terrifying.
How to get divorced 101.
I didn't, so anyway, Psych ward, we get some pretty cool kills in the Psych ward, I think. We get the most gruesome one with the head, Chucky puts on the head the brainwave, what's it called? The electroshock, and it kills him to death. And that's just one I forgot.
It's so intense. And I was like, they still had these in hospitals in the 80s?
I never understand the reason that these things have the capacity to go to murder. I
don't think they do. I think that's just the movie.
Are you talking Halloween 2?
I'm talking about Halloween 2 because they did that with the hot bath. I don't know if you remember that scene, but it goes to like murder heat, not just whatever's tolerable.
And like what Final Destination with like the tanning beds and stuff like that. It's like murder heat. So I like that phrase, murder heat, because you're right. That's what it like. So that happens, and then they escape, and then we get Catherine or Karen, I should say, trying to find like this scene's also upsetting for different reasons when she's trying to find answers, and the homeless guy basically starts to try to rape her, and
Yeah.
the detective just comes in to be like, saves the day. And
There's always those moments in this film where they come right as everything ends.
yeah, which I'm glad. I don't need, like, I think in the wrong hands, like if Rob Zombie made this movie, like he would just be like, well, I'm gonna show that scene, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
It's not this movie. So Karen's still trying to convince Mike, though, still that the doll is alive. But Mike is also putting the pieces together. Right, like, okay, like Charles Lee Ray, they convince him, and
we had questions because
yeah, what's up?
Karen at this point, tells Mike that, hey, this doll is connected to something, right? And at this point, Mike is like, well, it's weird because he went and killed Eddie Caputo, and it's also strange because
the doll was
found and it has the name Charles Lee Ray. Earlier in the film, Andy tells Karen, Chucky says his real name is Charles Lee Ray, and he was sent here by my dad from heaven. Charles Lee Ray, the moment the cop said it, Karen should have been like, oh shit, this is the same guy. But she doesn't. She's very confused still when talking to the cop.
That's, you know what, you're right, absolutely right. I never really, I guess, thought too critically about that.
We chalked it up to her just being like, well, she doesn't remember because she just thought, Andy's a kid and crazy.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, kid. He's just saying things, and I was like, oh, or maybe there was a scene written that he heard the name on the news.
Right.
Yeah, because it's all over the news. It's always in the background, the Lakeshore Strangler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah,
because how would that work exactly?
They said they kind of got rid of the strangler thing because they realized, like, the doll can't strangle, and it's also weird that there were a partner team, like, of stranglers.
Yeah, it's like they didn't know what type of criminal they wanted him to be.
So, what are we at? So the strangler and I apologize to anyone listening. So Mike tries to get convinced, and then but now Karen is able to take Andy with her, though, right? Like, he's out of the psych ward, and they reconvene. I'm kind of blanking, to be honest with you guys, where they team.
So I think it's right after.
They go back to the psych ward because I think right after this is when Chucky tries to kill the cop, right? Because he drops Karen off, and then she's like, "No, you literally just said that he might be out to kill you because you were next. It was Eddie and me. You said, I want to kill you and Eddie after I'm back." So she's like, "You're the next target," and he's like, "Yeah, whatever, you're crazy."
And then he gets in the car.
Yeah.
And then that's when we do have a great chase. Like, it's essentially a chase scene, I feel like, but it's not, because he's strangling him.
Yeah.
Hitting the pedals. It's this. And then he does escape. He gets one bullet into shot. So we mix up our order here a little bit. And that's when Charles Lee Ray, or Chucky, goes to the voodoo priest, and we get our explanation. Because he's like, why does this hurt?
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier, just watching the transformation of the puppets, the different puppets. And I know there's the video online of, like, not video, the photo goes around of, like, the receding hairline. He looks more gritty, and I love it.
More and more human.
Yeah, I like how he's bragging to Mike too, like, you can't hurt me. And I couldn't remember that lore. I didn't realize that he's going back to being human.
Yeah, I didn't remember that element of it.
Yeah, it's a neat part, because it's not just like, here's possessed doll. Here's I guess we'll fast forward. Here's what's the two movies now, Annabelle and The Boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like, it is actually a human in there, and he's turning, and there's something at stake. Like, there's a reason why he needs Andy.
Right.
And I think it's good to make him, like, defeatable, because then we get into movies where the main guy, you just can't do anything. You're always gonna die. But here, at least you could do something to fight Chucky.
Yeah. I remember growing up, I used to say, like, and they do explore this eventually, like chop him up, beat him, like all this, put him in the bottom of the ocean, like, and then if he comes back, I'd be terrified.
I think that's why my nightmare a couple of weeks ago was terrifying. I was in the street trying to do all kinds of things to the body because he just was unbeatable
Yeah.
in the dream. Yeah.
So,
But
and
this is
then
the reason that Chuck goes to the psych ward to get Andy, and
Mhm.
kills the doctor, and then they run. The cop and Karen make it back to the psych ward after
When you-
they've already lost Andy, and they go back to the apartment.
when you get to the third movie, there's a great line that he says to a new kind of kid. Let's play hide the soul.
Oh,
Interesting.
I think that's what the words, but like, yeah, like I said, there's a good, like later on when you get Chucky interacting with kids, like there's just great, when the kids that don't know that he's evil have great sort of like dirty like almost like dirty uncle like banter. I don't know.
Yeah, you could have a lot of fun with a bunch of different personalities as a kid too.
Oh yeah.
You could give him to a bully, right, and have him go do bully things. You can give him
Guys,
to an innocent kid.
Watch the series. Watch the series.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up with you guys on this. All right, so we do that, and then we do get our like third act climax, where it all goes down at the apartment. But now Mike, Karen, and Andy are all kind of like separately fighting Chucky. That's how it feels.
Yeah, they each get their turn 1-on-1.
Yeah.
I didn't like how they just assume he's dead after they light him on fire, because that doesn't mean
were
they
told
killed
they
the
need
heart.
to destroy the heart, and they did not listen.
Oh my god, you guys are
Double
pulling up
tap,
things
man.
that I haven't.
Double
That
tap
is
always.
Yeah, and you gotta. So they light him on fire, but then we do get the cool melty Chucky. And I'll say this though, because she has Andy behind him and she's shooting at him. She's a really accurate shot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I've never
Yeah.
shot a gun, but I imagine it's not easy to be that accurate if you probably never shot one before.
And I think she's got a revolver, right? So it's not even just a regular handgun. It's a heavy, packs a kick type gun.
Oh,
that
does
she's
it?
just one-handing.
We need to know more about Karen. What did she used to
Yeah,
do
seriously.
in her youth?
Well, yeah, I feel like it was made today. There'd be some throwaway line. It was like her and her husband were cops, and she can't be in the force anymore or something. So
she's from Raccoon City.
I hope. Speaking of, I just bought myself a used Dreamcast and got House of the Dead with the light gun, and it's been so much fun. Speaking
That's
of,
awesome.
speaking
I
of,
had to throw my Dreamcast away because it stopped working, but that's awesome. Dude.
Anyway, yeah, there's nothing to be. You mentioned Raccoon City. I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, she's shooting him, and then that they think he's done. He's laying, the pieces are laying in the hallway. Please correct me if I'm forgetting anything here.
I love how she just shoots the head off, the leg off, the arm.
Yeah, that's what I'm
off.
saying. She's so accurate with it, like a video game almost. Like,
But never the heart.
Never the heart. Doesn't go for the main meat of the body.
I just love how it doesn't stop. It keeps coming at them no matter what gets blown.
This is
off.
what reminded me of Terminator.
Yeah, they definitely borrowed a lot from all of those things. This is late, like this is 88. Yeah, this is late 80s. It's not like the whole kind of wave of the sci-fi horror and like you have a lot to pull from.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely really probably just asked like someone off the street, right? But like, oh, when did Child's Play get released? They probably would say not be like, oh, early 80s. But it's almost the 90s.
It's almost 90s.
So yeah, you have Terminator. I know you're familiar with the movie Magic at all?
Don't believe so.
It's with Anthony Hopkins, the late 70s movie. It has from that. It's about a marionette, and it was like a ventriloquist, but it's not a possessed thing. It's just a good horror drama. And then from the Twilight Zone episode, Talking Tina,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
heavily. Yeah.
yeah. There's also Puppet Master 2 that came out way before this, right?
Did Puppet Master come out before
I'm
this?
not
When did Puppet
sure.
Master come out? I remember we watched it a couple months ago, and it seemed a lot older than.
Do you guys? So, like, like
Oh, it came out the year after.
the year
Mhm.
after. So, speaking of Puppet Master, because we are almost at the end of like this movie itself. Were you guys ever like intrigued or familiar by any of like not knockoffs, but like the Chucky adjacent horror movies, like Dolls or something like that?
So I just remember the cover of Dolls because
Yeah,
it's
me
so
too.
creepy with the eyeballs, and
Yeah.
that's what would make me want to watch it.
I'd have to
watched
see
it.
footage just to remember.
Yeah.
No, I never watched it, but what Vivi said, the exact same thing. I bring it up. He's walking in the movie in Blockbuster or whatever, just seeing the cover and be like,
Mhm.
"What's that?" Yeah. And then we do get this like kind of final scene of they're all like, oh, everything happened, oh, blah blah blah. And his schluppy detective partner comes and he's like, what do you guys, it's just the doll. And Mike's like, don't touch anything. And he picks up this head, which, as you mentioned earlier, doesn't look like a toy's head. Like there's clearly something. Picks up, he's like, it's nothing. Puts it on the TV,
Rolls around with it,
Yeah.
like it's a basketball.
and it is a really good, intense kind of scene still because I'm watching it, and I'm waiting for the doll to talk.
Yeah.
Or
But
bite
he-
him on the hand or something.
Yeah, but nope. He comes out of the body comes out of the air vent and starts. He's like, rip his throat out.
I like how
Rip
he's
his
talking to
throat.
his body like it's a whole other thing.
One of my favorite lines of this whole movie, though, too, is I have my last note of it is when he's like, "Give me the boy, give me."
Yeah.
I'll let
Yeah.
you live if you just give me the boy.
Yeah.
I like how in horror movies it happens a lot though. You hold the door right and the killer's on the other side stabbing through it and
Mhm.
the person is screaming in horror but still has their head next to the door where the knife is coming through. Like they can't just move away.
But then eventually, was it Mike gets the final shot.
Yep.
Right
Every
through the
time
heart.
Chucky explodes away, I think it's great.
It's
Just
so
the ragdoll
dramatic.
effect.
Oh, please rewatch the series. I'm like begging you. I'm about to come to Chicago, but guys, I have the box set.
Bring the Chucky costume with you so we can go to the
Okay, yeah, I need to find that. I want that. So yeah, that essentially, child. The movie does end with the last look of like Andy looking back at us, and it's a freeze frame, very 80s ending.
Yeah.
eyeball of Chucky too, just
Yeah.
staring.
Yeah, and I love, that eyeball does set up a little interest in a sequel.
Oh,
Well, I feel like that, like showing that, like a little interest of like we could have more of these.
oh, gotcha. I think you meant it comes back as like just
Oh
the one
no,
eyeball.
no. Yeah, and then even just a note, because I mean, no one like the credits does have this really like somber music to the end of it, which I feel like adds to what you just watched. The one interesting thing, like I said, I did do more research than I normally do for this movie. It was just really interesting. Is they wrote a song,
Oh.
like a theme song, like like Freddie had like Yo Freddie raps and things like that, and like real goofy. There's a Chucky song, and you could just Google it. It's on YouTube. There's actually a really awesome. I tweeted it out from my account and then our Fear account, and it plays in the VHS promo, and it's like Chucky sitting on like a movie set. It's like 6 minutes. It's worth a watch because it's hysterical. He's smoking a cigar, talking about the success of the movie.
Oh my
And
god.
they play that song. That's for that, so you could hear it through there. And do you know how much a VHS cost in 1989?
Was it about the same as now with DVDs, like $20, $25?
$89.95.
What?
I was stunned.
Mm.
Really?
Swear to God.
Wait, like
Well,
price
yeah,
comparison to
I'm
now?
gonna no. that's what I don't know what the comparison is today. 89.95
Holy crap.
American dollars in 1989.
Now it makes sense why everyone's parents had like bootleg versions of
Yeah,
VHSs.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's
I'll send
expensive.
you guys the link to that YouTube because it is, and it says it, the price, and he's like, they got Brad Dourif to do that promo, and he's like, yeah, for the price of 1989, or 89.95. So anyway, what you guys what you guys think, or we didn't go through, and said I could keep rambling about, especially this series all night.
Well, just another fun fact. I think you told me they reused the animatronics on the Chucky doll to create the Tales of the Crypt creature.
Oh yeah, I did. Tell you
I
that.
love that.
I forgot about that.
And you could tell in the eyes when you look up images that it's the exact same.
Yeah, the burnt one, right?
Yeah.
After the fact.
I have backgrounds, but I have a Crypt Keeper promo ad behind me. I'm looking at it.
What'd you think?
So that's neat. Yeah, that makes sense to repurpose that.
Yeah. Just keep an eye out for it because you can't unnotice it once you see it.
Yeah. Well, as I guess not first watchers, but watchers in a long time, is there anything that you didn't like gravitate towards, like didn't work in this movie, or so much, like I said, like I glow about it, but I know that's just being a fan more than anything else.
I loved it. I want to see more. Like you're just making me want to go run and watch all of them after this, but especially the shows. So many people were just
raving about it.
Yeah, it's good. That's and I don't want to, I hope I didn't spoil any of that stuff for you guys during during our conversation, but it's worth a watch.
Yeah. I do love this though. I think it holds up effects wise. I think whenever you do practical versus like CGI stuff, it holds up. Not that I think there was CGI stuff in the late 80s.
No, but they could have. I mean, people were doing it and I don't think it would work. Personally, that was my issue this past year with, I know people loved it. I wasn't a fan of it with Malignant.
We didn't like Malignant.
Okay, cool. It's hit or miss. I've gotten, but like, I thought it'd been so much better if they did all practical effects with everything and really limited the CGI. Like that would have added to the not parody, but like the satire they were trying to do.
I think the villain looked too much like Voldemort for me to take it seriously.
Ooh, yeah, we could talk about that. I didn't like that. But that was Child's Play. I said it. Final thoughts of you guys, or
just that it doesn't fall into like the effect of, say, when I watched Nightmare on Elm again for the first time in years. I was like, oh, that's cheesy. That's not actually scary. Child's Play is still scary to me.
Yeah,
and, like still holds that element.
I a couple years ago, I just know that firsthand because I thought they were comparable. Like my favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street, and we were watching Child's Play a couple years ago, and my sister-in-law was around and she had never seen it, and we have a video of her somewhere because someone was secretly recording her being scared about the batteries, you know. And like those, and like intent, and I'm like, huh? Like, so yeah. So I love to hear you say that because it is still scary. Like I was trying to convince my wife. I was like, no, it's not that. We can watch. It's not that scary. And I probably a good thing she can watch it.
The pace, I think, helps it too. Like the fact that you're kind of given the answers quickly is like, oh, I want to know more. Oh, well, what happens next? You're kind of given that immediately, which is great.
Is the doll haunted? Off the bat that this doll is possessed, and you're just waiting for shit to hit the fan, basically.
It's the creator put it perfectly. He was like, it's how like people were afraid to go in the water with Jaws, right? He wanted the fear to be something you did have. Like now, you know what? Now we're afraid of dolls that everyone has, because Chucky, at least in it, he's hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, that's what makes him terrifying.
Yeah, and the creepiest things to me is not even when he's talking, is the eye look of the realistic doll, or the doll, not the Charles Lee Ray doll, right? He's like, turn on the news.
I hate that.
Or the added weirdness of Andy being like, he wants to watch, at 9 p.m. and he turns it
wants to
back
watch
on
the
and is
evening
sitting
news.
in front of
Yeah.
the TV. Yeah.
It's so funny too, because once again, he's just an old man thinking about it too. He just wants to watch the news as well. So he's not that old, but all right. And Eric, any final thoughts there? I know we shared.
Yeah, just the same sentiment. Like I
Great.
said, it holds up. Makes me want to watch more. I can't wait to.
Sure, you could find him streaming on all the platforms. Great. And where can the people find you guys? If
So you can follow us pretty much anywhere at Shaken Not Scared Pod, except Twitter. Twitter is Shaken Scared Pod. And we're on pretty much every podcasting streaming thing. Spotify,
Fantastic.
Apple Pod, all that good stuff.
Fantastic. And thank you so much, guys, for coming on again. It's
Thank
been a
you.
great conversation.
Thanks for having us.
And you could find, well, you're listening to the channel now, but you can find us at Flyover State of Film and Flyover State of Fear. Find me on Twitter at Shindangle1, and I'll just be talking about nonsense. All right. Stay frightful, everyone. Bye.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Bye.
Flyover State of Fear.